This is the Toshiba R700 with the overheating processor. And while I was having a look at it, I realized that when you put this heatsink back on, you'll notice that even though I've put fresh thermal paste here and here, it's not actually contacting on this part of this chip, which could be why it's overheating. So I'm going to put much more thermal paste than I normally would put and see if that helps. And maybe I need to order a replacement one of these that isn't bad if this is kind of bent out of shape and not working properly. Or perhaps I need some thermal pads to go in between these two things. But for now, I'll just put more thermal paste on and double check that this is in contact with this heatsink, and then I'll see if the thermal temperatures improve. Okay, so it has made an improvement. The maximum temperature so far is 93 degrees, but we've still got this modulation of 50%, which is slowing down the processor. So just to show you what's happening with the fan, it is actually blowing air this way across this towards this in order to cool this down, but I'm still not convinced that this design is good because it's blowing this air this way and then it's supposed to go through this bit here, but how does the air get that way? I don't know. I suspect, in fact, I might try moving this here and seeing how much of an effect that has on the temperature. So it's quite difficult to try and get this to be in the right position to blow over this part of the heatsink. But doing this, we've got the temperatures to under 80 degrees C. So they go up to about 87, but also down to 78, 77. It went up to 104 when I was moving the fan and it got really hot, but with the fan in this position we're getting under 80 degrees centigrade. Then if we put it back into this position over here, it goes sort of back up to the 80s, 80 degrees. So yeah, it's not really a great solution. Haven't really worked out the solution to this, but I don't know. It was worth exploring and trying, because realizing that there wasn't enough thermal paste, there was a kind of problem here. So maybe I'll put this back together. Maybe this case will give a little bit better airflow. See, there's a bit of foam there that's going to direct the air towards the heatsink. Maybe we'll be able to get something that means it doesn't get so hot, but it is still doing the on-demand clock modulation. Its hardware info says it's not thermal throttling, but it is doing the on-demand clock modulation. Thermal throttling, no, apart from when I had the problem with the fan and it got to 103. But here, this is on-demand clock modulation at 50%, and yeah, CPUZ is running the stress test. Put this back together, and maybe because it's sitting on a desk and has to try and get air from underneath where there's not enough room, but putting this back together has not resulted in these sort of temperatures staying low. yeah, we're still hitting 102 degrees C, so yeah, it's a real shame. Maybe it just needs to sit on a laptop stand or live in a cold environment. But it's not even that warm in this room at the moment, so yeah. Sadly, I think this laptop is just, I don't know, broken little laptop that's gonna get too hot for the rest of its life.